All right, let's do, of course, All Pro tier list. Let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All Pro for LEC Winter Split. The caveat, of course, is that there are certain players that play more games than others. They have more volume. Usually, they deserve that volume. They are deserving of playing that volume, and that, of course, matters. Let's start with top lane, because I think top lane is pretty straightforward. I think Kana, after the finals that he had, it's impossible to put BB above him. I think BB was very respectable because I think he was the main reason as to why, of course, G2 recovered their split by playing the tanks. He had a beautiful best of 5 against Kana the first time around. He had a great best of 5, best of 3 against Fnatic. BB was still very, very respectable. I think that in terms of top lane, I think that we had some really, really cool cats this time around. I think Oscarinin was also like the best performing player together with Upset in the playoffs for Fnatic. And I think there could be an argument to put Oscarinin above BB, but in the head-to-head matchup, like Broken Blade was way too sharp. I think Oscarinin was so damn good. I think in terms of top lane for the LEC, I think that we have a lot of things to be happy about this time around. I think top lane for LEC has been fantastic. Kana, he had that one best of 5 against G2, the initial one where he was put on tanks. I think that he just got handcuffed by his team, and obviously they walked away from that. He had one of the craziest now performances, fantastic Jace performances in the regular split before the nerf. And then, of course, he had great Aatrox, great Gnar, insane rumbles. Kana is like an MVP candidate, straight up. I think that in terms of top lane, I think that there's a lot of like good things going on for top lane. In terms of 4-5, I don't know, it's like Midwin, right? Midwin, I'm trying to find him. Midwin. I think Midwin was solid. He was okay. I'm trying to think if there's any names that I'm forgetting that we can put up here too. I think Irrelevant was uninteresting. Irrelevant doesn't belong. Midwin we got. I think that Lot really, really fell off. I think if anybody is like, the main name that comes to my mind is like Naknako. Okan Khan. Okan Khan might be just my next guy. I think Okan Khan, that's his real name, Okan Khan. I think that he had a lot of good individual performances. I think that he just has great potential. I'm really, really happy that he's in the league. Out of the new class of like top laners that we have in Lot and Carlson, I do think that Naknako is the one with the biggest future, So I think that's the one. I think that Oscarinin, someone said Naknako better than Oscar. Oscarinin had really, really good games. Like really, really good games. I think if it wasn't for Oscarinin, they would lose against BDS, bro. That's how bad things were. Okay. Jungle. Jungle gets spicy very fast. I think Yike is the easy inclusion. I think that Yike, what stands out to me about Yike, the way I would describe him currently, he is a European owner. European owner. He needs to play cleanup crew for this squad. I think that his finals was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. I think even the best of 5 against KC, at G2 that he lost, that Vi game, he really, 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 really won behind that. And Yike has been an important part of this team. I think the worst games for Yike were the games where he played carries, but I don't think that's necessarily because of his own individual play. It's just that the team cohesion doesn't work. When Kana's on tanks and he's playing Viego or Nidalee, it just doesn't work for their team cohesion. I think Yike definitely deserves the top spot. He bested his competition. His competition being Skumond. Skumond is the second place taker here for me. I think that you can make an argument to put Elioya as well, because I think that it's a miracle that Koi made it so far with how Georgia Pune was playing. I think that putting an argument to put Elioya second is also very fair. I think Elioya had a really, really good split, and I think that he just did a great job, honestly. I think he just did a great job. I think you can argue that he did better than Skumond, because I think Skumond is a jungler's jungler. I think he does good passing, good mechanics, good range of champions. But I think Elioya and Alvaro is such an important part of the engine that is, of course, the team. And I think usually that is something that comes from the jungle position. Even though Skumond jungles well, I think in terms of G2's, what they lack in the team department, I do think that this is something that you can put blames on Skimond, and you can also put blame on, of course, Labro for that too. I think BB needed to do a lot of cleanup, and I think that the argument Skimond versus Elioya, I think that's something to be had, right? I think that's something to be had for sure. I just have sympathy for Elioya because he played with one of the weakest performing mid laners in the whole league, and that is already like such an uphill battle in my opinion. Such a uphill battle. I think it's insanely difficult to do that. So I think it depends on the day. Let's put them together there for now. Maybe it's something that changes. Here, maybe it gets controversial, but like I think 113 and Razork are the next names that we need to put up here. But the order of them is something that you can argue. I think Razork definitely has a very high ceiling in the way that he plays, but some of the mistakes he did and some of the games that he had were so atrocious, so damn atrocious, that it's hard to let go of. I think his regular split games in his first 50 minutes together with Mickey were very insane and high level, but then you have games like that Volibear game or let's say the Vi game against 113 in the regular season that was really bad, or the Zinzao game. I think it's hard to look back from that. And even though like this is a list of determining performance, I do think that Razork is up here, right? In terms of how I would evaluate him as a player. This is not ranking of players. We are ranking their performances. I repeat, we are ranking their performances. So in terms of that, I think 113 is like, in terms of what he did for BDS, I think he's like MVP candidate. How I view an MVP candidate is like how big of a percentage of responsibility do you take in your team to move it forward? And 113 did so much for this team. He did insanely much for this team. And I think he deserves credit for that. He definitely deserves credit for that. I don't care about him like getting caught on Zinza or whatever. It's like those games were playable and competitive because 113 was completely smurfing. Like without 113, BDS would fold against any team that is on paper better than them. And I think 113 was the most important aspect of that. I think 113 had a good range of champions that he played too, cool Nidalee and so forth. So there's that, you know. Let's talk mid lane. I think without a doubt, Vladi is number one. Where is he? Vladi number one. I think it goes without saying. Vladi was so damn consistent the entire damn split. And he had a good range of champions. Talia, Yone, Victor, Azir. Just marvelous. Simply marvelous. Mid lane becomes a little bit more tricky, I feel, because I think that Caps was insane, right? He was insane, but he was also, you know, in the finals, it was very lackluster. But G2 seemed to be facing a lot of problems there. I think Caps did not play well in the finals. Maybe, you know, I have my own Caps biases, but usually when Caps plays like this, it means that things are not functioning in the team, you know, and he's trying to carry the game. Like, Caps and Razork, they have this similarity that if they don't feel like the right things are happening, they're gonna try to carry the game themselves. And I think that's what Caps looked like in that series. He tried to squeeze advantages where there were none and got punished for it, and he tried to overcompensate. Razork is basically how I would explain Razork as a person that is a friend of his. It seems, you know, have you ever had a friend or a relative or anybody that basically fought their way out of poverty, but they are institutionalized? It seems like Razork built a mindset of he needs to carry games and he needs to be active and busy ever since he went through the rough time of being in Fnatic in winter and spring and then playing with these rosters that were choking and so forth, that he just seems to be overplaying so fucking hard whenever the pressure is up. When in reality, he just needs to let his teammates play the game. So, Caps, I still think some of the shit he did again in the best of 3 against Fnatic was incredible. I think Caps was pretty solid against Casey the first time around they played. I think that Caps belongs there on 2 because I don't think anyone else besides Vladi played better than him. I think Humanoid is slotting in 3rd. I think the biggest disappointment in terms of how everything developed is Jackie's. You know, Jackie's as a player, he started off good, and I had high hopes for him, but he also fell off. You know, we look at the mid lane pool, and the 2 names that I thought would bring us more excitement is Jojo Pune and Jackie's, but they just didn't. I feel like mid lane becomes insanely difficult after top 3 because I think there's like a massive gap between everybody else. Nuke I can't put in good conscience too because Nuke is basically the new age Larson in my opinion. Nuke, when he gets his majors, he gets his champions. I think that he gets his farm, and I think he does well. But when he's playing other champions outside of that, I think that we see the flaws of Nuke. You know, I think that he managed to claw back some victories, and I think that he is very specific in the way he is as a player. But I don't know who I would put here in 4-5, bro. It just gets kind of ugly after that. It just definitely gets ugly. It's like Jackie's, you know, Jackie's, I think, see, week 1 and week 2, I thought he was a top 2 mid laner. Jojo Pune, honestly, Jojo Pune is like 7th, 8th in terms of performance. Jojo Pune was really, really bad in my opinion. Oh shit, please tell me it saves. Oh, thank God. Yeah, I think this one is tough. Here, I don't know, this might be controversial, but obviously it's the top 3 is a combination of Hansama, Upset, and Kalist for AD. Kalist, Hansama, Upset, where is he? The order of things, you know, I think Kalist had a solid finals. I think his Varus games are insane. I think he's the best Varus in the league. I think that in terms of Upset and Hansama's performances, I do think that they were like a part of the squad of best performing ADs, like best performing players in their teams. I think Upset in their best of 5 against KC together with Mickey and Oscarinin made that very, very competitive. I think that Kalist had that series against KC that was quite bad, right? I think that Kalist took a backseat in this team. And I think that's okay. Sometimes that's what you need to do. And sometimes that's where the meta brings you. I think that Hansama, the main knock against Hansama is week 1 and 2, he was completely invisible in regular split. Completely invisible. But his switch up to Ezreal and his Sivir Lulu games and his Ezreal, I think that he was really, really good in the switch up. I think Upset had very, very insane Kalista games, very, very good Kaiser games, solid Ezreal games. But the main thing that sticks in my mind is that period in time when Upset was sick, and then, of course, his misfortune lock-in. I have to put a part of that responsibility on him as a player. So it's just Hansama, I think he really ramped up in playoffs, really good. I think Kalist had some rough series, but then he found a very specific role in the team. I think Kalist Varus is the best in the league, by far. Kalist Varus is insane. I think he had a great Ashe game as well against G2. That was super, super good. But I have to say, that series was very easy for Kalist to play. And that's not his fault. That's simply not his fault, right? It really isn't his fault. I think the argument there's arguments to be made for anything here. But I think I'm happy to leave it at that, guys. I think this is where we land. We need to fill out this so it makes sense. It's like Jackie's Nuke would be like the ones, like something like this, you know. And then we fill out ADCs. I do think Super belongs here, guys. I think Super belongs, and it's like Ice, Kazi, right? I think Kazi kind of fell off, man. Like Kazi kind of fell off. So I kind of want to give Ice his due, you know. Jackie's was insanely good week 1 and 2. Like I really, really think that he was good week 1 and 2. So I give him props for that. I think week 1 and 2, Jackie's was really, really good. And I don't think Chayek, Nuke, or whatever did something much better than what Jackie's offered week 1 and 2. Jackie's fell off, but keep in mind, these teams didn't have that many weeks of play, and it is what it is. Okay. But definitely, Jackie's was really, really bad, and GX really fell off a cliff. But early, they only played the worst teams. The Jackie's was still performing. Jackie's was still performing. Like, well, I'm just looking at the eye test. All right. Support, I'm putting Mickey first. I don't think Mickey, even though Mickey gets caught and dies and so forth, I do think that Mickey offers something nobody else does. I think Tagamas showed a lot of signs of that. And I think that Tagama's renaissance, like his series against Koi was really, really insane. His first series against KC, against G2, was not good. Really, really not good. That was a really, really bad series from Targamas. I think Targamas versus Mickey as well in that best of 5. I edge out in terms of Mickey in the impact. I think Mickey was the better player over Targamas in that series. But Targamas had a fantastic finals, but Labrov at the same time was a really, really big underperformer. There was a lot of space to be taken by the void that Labrov left. Next one, it's like we have players like Alvaro, right? Alvaro, let me see what order I would do it. It's not a lock-in just yet. I need to just bring the players. We have Labrov. So Labrov was very good against Casey the first time they played. I think that Labrov was okay when he played against Fnatic. Labrov, how much does the finals hurt him? Because the finals was really awful. The finals was really, really awful. So that's the main question. Like Labrov had a very, very bad finals. June had good regular split. But GX is a team that doesn't play like a team. They don't play like a team at all. And I look at how Koi found any kind of idea of success getting top 4. I think that Elioya and Alvaro was a big reason for that. Paros had way too many terrible games. He had way, way, way too many terrible games. I'm going to do it like this. And then my final game would be June. I would do it like this. People seem upset about my mid lane rankings, but I honestly think there's a big fucking cutoff. Like a big cutoff after these 3. Big cutoff. I think this cutoff here is not the greatest. It's like maybe I'm overvaluing Jackie's week 1 and 2, but I think Nuke also had stinkers, guys. Nuke definitely also had stinkers. Chayek, I have to admit, like you guys are mentioning him in chat, I could be wrong. I'm not going to go back and rewatch all Vitality's games. But I don't have a clear memory of how Chayek played. So, honorable mention, Chayek. I right now, you guys are mentioning Chayek. I can't in good conscience say how he played. It's not memorable to me. I'm not going to go back and look. Okay. And now we should do the MVP vote. Right? We should do the MVP vote. The MVP vote. Most valuable player. I am going to do this in a way where I only take one player per team. Okay? I don't want to fill this out with KC players. I don't. I have to choose one player per team, and then we go down the list. Okay? So I think in terms of the candidate from KC who deserves MVP in this conversation, I think Kana has arguments. I think Yike has arguments, and then Vladi has arguments. I think Vladi was so damn consistent and he played such a wide range of champions. And also, he like really made the floor of the team be so damn high. I think that Vladi is going to be my guy. I think this is just he's just so damn good, you know. I think that you know the main issue, like if Kana, you know, if Kana wasn't put on tank duty, you know, maybe things would look different, you know. I think it's rough. The next one for me is Broken Blade. I think Broken Blade really revitalized this team. I think he really revitalized this team. I give him a lot of credit for resurrecting G2 from a very tough spot in the 1-2. Like when BB was playing his tanks and taking over the map, he covered for all of Labrov's problems. And I think the fact that BB was so ready to adjust to Labrov made them a very competitive team. I think BB was the most important player for G2 this split. The next player, I don't know, in my mind, it's like in Fnatic, I kind of want to give Upset the one. It's tricky because it's between Oscarina and Upset in my opinion. But it comes to the point where I think it even makes sense due to the firepower and the fact that it's inconclusive. I kind of want to put Elioya here. I still think it's like, you know, this is quite the fucking squad you have on you, you know? I just have so much sympathy for Elioya for needing to play with Georgia Pune's performance this split, bro. I think Elioya did a great job, you know? I think Elioya did a great job. And then it's like, it's 1-1-3. Like 1-1-3 needs to be in here. 1-1-3 needs to be in here. I think Mickey was a little bit too inconsistent for my taste. Oscarinin, Upset is between these two, you know? I think Oscarinin really dragged him over the finish line, and the main knock against Upset was that period when he was sick, because he didn't play well. Like the series he played against G2, I didn't think Upset played well. Hidorino, you don't understand the point of an MVP vote. Like at least I'm going to give you guys my metrics. I'm going to make it as clear as possible. It's like in your percentage of ownership for the team in order to move the team forward, right? I think it can even be arguable that Vladi should be lower due to that, because I think that Vladi has a very cohesive team, right? I think Vladi was probably for me a very important player for KC, but in terms of what he needed to do in order to push the team forward, it's like, you know, it's like BB 1-1-3. Like it could be something like this, you know. I think by the metric that I'm talking about, you could even make the argument that it's like this, you know. Player expectation has nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it. It's just that in order to elevate the team, it's like how far back does this team fall if they don't have this player on their team, you know? And I think 1-3 and BB did so much heavy lifting for their team this year. So it's a tricky one, you know? But the MVP voting is always like certain schools of thought, you know? Certain schools of thought. I do think I gotta give Elioya a lot of credit because I think he was the best performer on the Koi team. And also, like, the games are insanely difficult when you don't have a good mid laner. By that metric, you shouldn't even have Vladi in top 5 because Casey would still be 1-3 without him. No, that's not true. I think that, guys, we have seen so many best of 5s where Caps completely 1v9s because the enemy mid lane is not good enough. How many times did Nuke get farmed? How many times did Nuke get farmed, guys, by Caps? How many times? Vladi was the better player over Humanoid, was the better player over Caps, That shit fucking matters to me, bro. That shit fucking matters to me. Upset and Oscarina get to share it, guys. They get to share it. But this is always when it gets weird. Like the MVP votes get so weird because it's different criteria, right? And then people gonna say, "What, you think BB? You think 113 is a better player than Vladi? You think da?" It's gonna give me a headache. I just know it. Maybe I cut this part out of the video because it just, with the circumstance that you have, how big of the cake did you need to prepare in order for this team to function at all? You know. I think 113 was so important for BDS. Because it's like, at least, you know, Vladi was surrounded by strong performing players, you know. Like, I think, basically, if we set up the conversation of which players are the candidates for MVP in each team, right? Then it's like, Vladi Aikana. For Koi, I think it's only Elioya. For Fnatic, Upset Oscarinin. For BDS, there's nobody but 113. Nobody. Broken Blade, like G2, I don't know. Sometimes Hansama, maybe. Right? And the more players that are in the conversation, the less of the pie they are doing to push forward, you know? So I hope that makes sense, you know? But I have a deep appreciation for Vladi because he played against like fucking formidable foes. And I've seen so many times G2 just smash finals and smash teams because Caps kicks it up a notch, you know? And when Caps kicked it up a notch, it's like those Tristana games and that Tristana game, for example, those are games that Caps usually carries. But Vladi on Yon performed fucking beautifully, you know? But yeah, I get that MVP votes are very strange, guys. They're very, very strange. Because there's so many schools of thought here. Because in the end, it's like the first initial list I made also is completely reasonable, you know? It's like it's completely reasonable to end up here. If this is where you ended up, you know, I think that's fine. I think this is okay. If somebody ended up here, I think that's fine. I'd say, this is a good list. This is a good list. You end up somewhere else, you have your rationales, like 113 play with shit players. Without him, they would be 10th place. Okay, cool. I believe you, bro. Boom. Solid, you know? You say Vladi was surrounded by great players. I understand. I would move him down. BB, whatever. There's many options here, right? There's many options here. You get me. But someone is going to clip, take a print screen, and put it everywhere, right? That's usually how it goes. And there we have it. I guess you can't call 113 higher than Vladi just because BDS didn't reach even semifinals. If he was so valuable, they would win more, right? It's the same. You remember when Team Heretics had Jankos? And Team Heretics had, and Jankos was as a candidate for MVP? Yeah, because everyone saw that he was smurfing and dragging this team, you know? He was a candidate after a whole year of Team Heretics being a bad team, right? With being like with stepping up in summer, you know? And then, yeah, of course, having more games played is a really big deal too, you know? So it's in the grand scheme of things, I think probably just because you managed to play the finals and the semi, I think putting Vladi as the MVP makes sense, you know? Because like if to simplify it as much as possible to those who got to this point, it would be this, you know, to simplify it. I think this is the one that applies to the most common metrics of people's MVP votes. You know, this would apply to the most common metrics. More volume, more business. This is what it is, you know. This is the easiest one to argue for, and this one will have the widest coverage, you know.